This is our story, the entire thing from the beginning.
How a boy met a girl and together they made their love story come to life. It takes place all over the world and spans over decades of time.
This is the story of us and how our little Wander family came to be.
I was born on September 7th with jet black hair that stood straight up, kind of like a monkey. I'm the middle child with one older sister and one younger brother. We were all born on the East Coast, where most of my aunts, uncles, and cousins still live. But when I was around 4 years old, my parents decided to move us across the country to a small town in Idaho. Our family thought we were crazy to leave everyone behind, but my parents were searching for something different. I was excited about the move. Even as a little kid, I loved going to new places and seeing new things. I had an amazing childhood in Idaho. I remember at our first house, our neighbor had cows that came right up to our fence, and my siblings and I loved to say hi to them. We also had blackberry bushes where we could eat the berries straight from the vine. It was great. Soon after moving to Idaho, my family joined a church. We loved being part of the church because it was more than just a religion, it was a community. Almost all of my friends were in the same religion, and we went to church every Sunday. Growing up, my family never had a ton of money, but I never felt like we were poor. We didn't need a ton of money to be happy, and we did things that were mostly free, like going hiking or camping together. I've always felt that growing up without a lot of money actually made my childhood richer. I remember when I was about 5, I begged my parents to let me learn piano. I still remember the day a big truck pulled into our driveway to deliver it. I was so excited. I've always loved music, but I love dance even more. I joined a dance group called Clogging. It became a huge part of my life. I loved dancing and performing, and my team was like a family, and we made amazing memories traveling together for competitions. We even made it to the Junior Olympics. My childhood was really happy, but when I was a teenager, my life changed a lot. My parents decided to get a divorce, and my siblings and I stayed at our house with my mom, and my dad moved to an apartment in a nearby city. Not long after that, my grandmother, who had always inspired me to be strong and to think for myself, passed away from cancer, and a friend I had grown up with died in a tragic accident. Also, during this time, my family no longer agreed with the teachings of our church, and we decided to leave. It was a very hard time, and I wasn't sure who I was or what I believed anymore. Even still, I made the most of living in our small town, though it felt like everything was falling apart. And eventually, I met my best friend.
I was born in Palm Springs, California, in a typical suburban neighborhood. I remember we had a big pool in the backyard, and me and my 2 brothers would always be jumping into it, riding big wheels around the deck, and even making a zip line. When I was 4 or 5, we moved to Idaho to be closer to family. When we first got to Idaho, my family and some aunts, uncles, and cousins all lived in my grandma's big house. We all lived under the same roof, and it was so much fun. My dad's side of the family is huge. I have 9 aunts and uncles on his side, and even more cousins. I remember playing games with all of them, and singing and playing the piano. Music has always been a huge part of my life. I learned to play the piano when I was 7 or 8, and soon after learned the violin, ukulele, and guitar. Eventually, my family moved out of my grandma's house, and we lived in our own house on a small farm in a small town, which was about an hour drive from anything. We had chickens, pigs, peacocks, and even 2 cows we named T-Bone and Steak. We eventually moved off the farm and into a house on the edge of town where I lived most of my childhood. We had 4-wheelers and jet skis, and my family was always going on different camping trips and adventures. Our small town didn't have much to do, so me and my friends always found ways to have fun, whether we were sneaking into abandoned trains, jumping into rivers, or flying off of rope swings, which is where I met the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. I first saw Kelsey climbing up the trail to the rope swing, crawling on all 4s and acting like a tiger. She was literally roaring. I knew she was different from other girls. We hung out a couple times after the rope swing, and our first official date was eating gelato at Moxie Java, even if Kelsey doesn't even remember it.
Are you sure? Because I really don't remember.
Yes, it totally happened. Soon after, I asked Kelsey to be my girlfriend by carving it into the side of a mountain. It was pretty tricky getting up there and carving that thing, but after that, the story of us together had begun.
We had our first kiss at a flagpole that overlooked the entire town. I was so nervous.
I was pretty nervous too, but it was seriously perfect. The view overlooking our tiny little town was amazing. The moment was perfect. My heart was beating so fast, and it was just so exciting.
We were living a real-life, small-town love story, complete with summer dates at the town fair and late-night school dances. And then we hit some rough patches. We were young, and we made some mistakes. All throughout high school, we dated on and off, but we finally really broke up when Corbin left for college in Southern California, and I was left behind to finish my last year of high school. And eventually, I moved away too, to college in San Francisco. After 2 years of living apart but remaining friends, I felt like I had reached a point where it was important for me to really let go of my friendship with Corbin in order to move on with my life. I remember writing him a letter saying exactly what was going on and telling him I had to say goodbye.
While in college, I dated other girls, but realized no one could even come close to how amazing Kelsey was. I thought about her all the time and missed talking to her. I got this feeling that I needed to see her. I had to make sure that our communication stayed open. I had to make sure that at least our friendship still stayed alive. I had to talk to her even though I had no idea what I was going to say. I skipped class and drove up to San Francisco with no plan and no idea on where or how to find her. But I did find her with some of her friends on Haight Street and asked if we could talk.
We talked a lot that night and the next day, and we both realized we never stopped having feelings for each other, and we were never really just friends. We slowly started rebuilding our relationship, but it was not the best timing. I had already accepted a 6-month internship abroad in Turkey, and I was leaving in just a couple of months. Leaving for Turkey was bittersweet because I had always wanted to live abroad, but now I felt like I was leaving so much behind.
We Skyped almost every day, and those 6 months felt like they lasted forever. But at the end of her internship, we had both decided we really wanted to make it work again. And she left everything she knew in San Francisco to move down with me in Southern California. I finished college and got my degree in television production, and we eventually moved to Oregon, where I got my dream job, a news producer.
Around that time is where you guys come in. We were planning a trip to Europe and wanted to film the entire thing, so we started our channel, Steps to Wander.
I had this grand plan to propose to Kelsey, but didn't know where exactly I was going to do it. Luckily, when we were in Florence, Italy, our Airbnb host was actually also a tour guide and gave me the perfect spot to pop the question. It was one of the best days of my life.
It was seriously magical. We planned our wedding to be at a little winery in Southern Oregon with some of our closest family and friends, and we drank wine, ate delicious food, and danced all night to our favorite band. It was perfect.
Our life together has been one big adventure ever since. We've traveled across North America, living in a van, and have seen glaciers, canyons, and everything in between.
Then everything changed. One hot summer day, somewhere in the Midwest, we took a pregnancy test and soon found out our baby girl was on her way. We surprised all of our family by video calling them, saying we wanted to show them pictures of our van trip so far. And at the end of the slideshow was the picture of a positive pregnancy test.
No, congratulations. Oh my God.
Everyone was so excited to soon meet our little Juniper. Now we're a little family of 3.
4, you can't forget Paris.
How could I forget about him?
And we're all ready to take on our next adventure.
We hope you enjoyed our Draw My Life. If you did, give it a big thumbs up and be sure to subscribe.
Be where your feet are.